When you're ready.
Do different levels of competition in sports affect psychological aspects for an athlete? So what is sports psychology? Although sports have a lot of physical benefits, the psychological ones are hard to miss. Playing sports increases self-confidence and decreases the risk of depression. Sports psychology is the act of enhancing an athlete's performance using psychological techniques, motivation tactics, and stress and anxiety control. Sports psychologists work to improve the mental aspect for athletes as they continue to grow in their sports and increase their skills. They use tactics such as attentional focus, visualization, and goal setting, motivation and team building, as well as countering anxiety. A little bit of history. By the 1980s, sports psychology became the subject of a more rigorous scientific focus as researchers began to explore how psychology could be used to improve an athlete's performance. So this is a mental wellness triangle, and it demonstrates how athletes deal with stress, the different ways that they may personally deal with it. It displays how one may respond to it, management and regulation of the stress and anxiety, and how it ultimately affects one's performance. The triangle shows performance is influenced by one's thoughts, actions, and feelings. These factors affect one another, sometimes in uncomfortable ways. Most athletes report more difficulty controlling their emotions when compared to controlling their thoughts and actions. 2 ways to avoid being caught in a mental headspace when looking at the triangle include immediately thinking or saying what you liked about your performance, as well as what you didn't like, and thinking or saying what could be done to optimize future performance. So the 4 different forms of competition that I'll be talking about include the Olympics, club level, youth level, and the professional level. As one develops through their sports, there comes a time where they may need to move up in levels. They each have different aspects of the psychological piece, as each athlete has different experience and ways to cope with any mental blocks, as well as different levels of competition have more mental stressing, so they need more help. So first is the Olympic level. Olympic athletes train for years and years to reach their goal, a medal at the Olympics. They push their bodies to the limit, trying to earn the capability of earning a gold, silver, or bronze medal. The pressure often adds up to a heavy psychological load for athletes, both at games and beyond. In the Summer Olympics in Rio of 2016, sports psychology received individual attention at all the games. The media attempted to find new angles that include the athletes' mental toughness and resilience required to win the medals. Some psychologists operate professionally with the team or as a whole, or consult or maintain private practices. It really just depends on what the athlete's preference is, whether they want to meet with the whole team or if they just want to meet individually. It's very important for Olympic athletes because they have the whole world basically watching, so they would just want to make sure that they're at their top mental toughness. Next is the club level. Some might wonder if benefits differ between club sports and teams that play in competitive leagues. More and more students are choosing to be involved in the club level, as nearly 2 million actively participate across the U.S. compared to the 43,000 that participate in varsity sports. The American College of Sports Medicine showed that higher levels of health benefits and mental well-being from participation in organized sports compared to other forms of physical activity. There's not as much stress involved, it's easier to enjoy and have fun with, as there's not really a competitive side to it, so it's all just fun and it's not a big deal if you can't go due to the studies or anything like that. Next is the youth level. Playing sports when you're younger fosters social behaviors, greater academic achievement, and an appreciation for health and fitness. It's very hard to determine potential at such a young age, so it's important to focus on other aspects, such as focusing on developing teamwork, leadership, self-confidence, self-discipline, and coping skills, as well as good sportsmanship. There may also be a negative effect if the kid is put into a negative atmosphere. A study showed that 5,800 children who stopped playing a sport due to loss of interest, not having fun, too much time, bad coach, or too much pressure. The parent also has a really large role in this, as they choose what environment the kid is placed in. A personal event was when I was at a national camp and they talked about a red zone, a blue zone, and a green zone. The red zone described a mental state that wasn't healthy for the athlete. They were super stressed and not focused on their own playing style. Blue was the neutral zone. This was maybe the best zone to be in because you weren't playing too confident, but you also weren't playing the worst. The mental gain was that you're just playing like as you could. And the green zone is where you're feeling very confident about your play everything's going well and you're just having a good time, which is also really good, but it can also lead to overconfidence. The last level is the professional level. Sports psychologists focus on helping athletes cope with intense pressure that comes from large competitions. Playing in front of a large crowd isn't easy, so sports psychologists are very useful at this level. Professional athletes would be crazy not to seek help from professionals like sports psychologists. They go to them to achieve their athletic goals and increase their performance level. 30 NBA teams have performance coaches on staff working full-time or as a consult on call. Others seek sport psychologists to help them with their game outside of their team ones. Maybe they have a better connection or just want more help. They couldn't handle the level without a strong mental game. So in conclusion, do different levels of competition in sports affect the psychological aspects for an athlete? Yes, each level is different, and at the higher levels, you definitely need more mental strength, and sports psychologists do the best to help those athletes.
Huge round of applause, huge round of applause. What evidence did you gather you didn't include, and why did you choose not to include it?
I didn't include the college level because I felt that the professional level as well as the youth level both kind of tied into that, and they both come together, and I think it's really similar to the professional level because you're moving up in a level from high school. It's a completely different game and a completely different situation. So I felt that being and looking at the professional level, it was more realistic to just focus on that rather than having the same information twice.
Okay, very good, thank you. What are the implications of your findings to your community?
I think that it was really helpful for the community because I think a lot of athletes overlook the psychological side of sports. So I think if they realize how much of a mental game it actually is, I think it'd be very useful, and I think a lot of athletes' game would improve if they focused on the mental game more.
Okay, thank you. Another huge round of applause. Huge, thousands of people. I'll add a